To her surprise, the woman discovered that her husband, who should have been at home, was kissing a stranger outside a hotel. She couldn't believe her eyes. Watching their intimate and suggestive behavior, Amy knew her husband was having an affair, yet she didn't confront him directly. When Nick returned home, Amy told him she wanted a child, hoping to use a child to salvage their crumbling marriage. Yet Nick seemed thoroughly impatient.
A child is not a hobby.
Not a hobby. An inspiration.
We could have had this fight 4 hours ago.
But faced with his wife's relentless pressure, Nick finally dropped all pretense. In the midst of the argument, he violently slammed Amy against the staircase banister. In that instant, Amy looked at the man before her as if he were a stranger. She couldn't believe that the man who had once sworn to cherish her above all else had turned into this terrifying version of himself. At that moment, she gave up all hope and let go of any remaining illusions. Late that night, feeling increasingly wrong, Amy decided to take revenge on this scumbag. So the next day, after her husband drove out, she first overturned all the furniture in the living room, then used a syringe to draw 2 kilograms of blood from her own body. She splashed the blood onto the cabinets and stove, spread the remaining blood across the floor, and then, slipping off her gloves, placed her hands on the floor to create drag marks. Finally, she wiped away all the blood to make it look as though it had been cleaned up. Afterward, she found a blunt object, smeared it with her own blood, and threw it into the fireplace to burn it. Finally, Amy clutched a rock and jumped into the lake without hesitation. She only hoped that her body would be discovered by the police before the fish had eaten it clean. Meanwhile, Nick was still at his sister's bar when he received a call from a neighbor and rushed home. He found the front door unlocked. Upon entering, he saw nothing but chaos and found no sign of his wife. Nick's first thought was that the house had been broken into, but he couldn't figure out why it was the neighbor who called him instead of his wife. Where had Amy gone? He searched for a long time but couldn't find her, which actually made him feel somewhat relieved. If Amy could just leave like this, it would suit him perfectly. However, he never could have imagined that the moment he stepped into this villa, he had already fallen into Amy's trap. The police arrived at Nick's home shortly thereafter. Nick explained that they had only recently moved in because his father was seriously ill and that they hadn't offended anyone. He suspected that robbers had kidnapped his wife, but apart from the sofa and coffee table, there were no signs that anything else in the house had been touched. The only clue was an iron left plugged in, indicating that his wife hadn't had time to turn it off before leaving. Later, a female officer discovered a single drop of blood on a cabinet, but other than that, there were no other unusual signs.